So we called today Finding Home. And the reason that I wanted to lead off with this topic, with this particular healing circle, is that every time I work with a new client, there's a fundamental block that almost every single person I work with comes across in their field. And that is, I don't know who I am, why I'm here, what my purpose is, and if I even have a mission. Like, do I even have a reason for being here, or am I just filler? Anybody relate? Hands up if that's you. It was me for a long time too. I really only started to understand this about 2 years ago, why I was here. And because this fundamental block is in place for majority of starseeds, I started doing a ton of tracking, looking into their fields, trying to figure out like, why is it that thousands and thousands and thousands of these really cool multidimensional beings that have had all of these existential experiences, not only in this body in these incarnations, but also in their astral bodies, can't figure out why they're on planet Earth? Like, why did that happen? Well, there's a couple of layers to this. One of those layers is that a lot of us, when we come through, we jump through something called the Bardos field. And to make this really easy, we're going to imagine the Bardos like a layer of fog, because it's filled with so much stuff to sort through, so many stories, so many of your past lives, so many concurrent timelines that people may still be running, that it gets very difficult to see which way is up, which way is left. Everything just seems topsy-turvy in there. If you guys have ever seen The Good Place, they explain the Bardos really well with the Jeremy Bearimy timeline experience. And if you don't know what that is, we'll put it in the group for you guys later because it's hilarious. So that's one problem. But there's another core issue behind that I have seen in so many people's fields. In fact, they have even ushered it out loud and they don't recognize what they are doing to themselves. But they've changed the dialogue. Has anybody ever played that game Telephone, especially with a group of children? It's where one child starts a message and it's something innocent, usually with, their kids. It's going to be something funny. But they'll start with something like purple pierogies. And by the time it gets to the end of the circle, it's now got like 16 words, at least 2 profanities and some kind of dirty talk in it, right? And nobody knows what the original message was because it's been distorted. Person after person, timeline after timeline. And by the time it gets to the end, it's unrecognizable. And so what we have to do is remove distortion field after distortion field, timeline after timeline, to get back to core truth, to understand what the energy signature is behind the words we're saying. Now, the words that most starseeds will say at some point in their life, and prove me wrong on this, but how many of you guys at any time during your life have said, I don't want to be here anymore? I don't think I belong on this planet. Nobody understands me. I feel lost and I feel alone. I'm seeing a lot of heads and a lot of eyebrows. Okay. Well, number one, take a look to your left, take a look to your right. There are literally 500 of you in this room right now that are all experiencing the same thing. And so by my not very good statistical mathematics in my head, we can say that you definitely aren't alone, that there are many of us experiencing those same frequencies of feelings. But this creates a problem because every time you use words like this, every time you experience this, it's like you pull yourself further and further away from what we can call your source point and your morphogenetic field. And the more you do this, the more your body and your mind respond to validate your words. And so the body starts to malfunction. we start creating disease, allergies, issues in our relationships, migraines, mental disorders, if we even want to call them that, but we'll debunk that later in the accelerator. The body starts to try to shut down to validate what the brain now believes. And every time we do that, we let less and less of our light coding into this system. Every time we do that, we shut down something called our dimensional lenses that stop all of those frequencies of light and sound from rebounding and bouncing into our system to keep us aligned, happy, healthy, and vibrant on this planet. But the words you've been expressing, like I'm alone, I'm lost, all of this, I don't think I'm supposed to be here, are not actually the core root of the problem. They're just what you now think is the core issue. A lot of the starseeds I meet actually have something running in their field where they are blaming someone or something or some kind of creator for sending them to a place to feel how they feel now in this human body. But what they don't realize is that thing that they're blaming externally is themselves. A lot of starseeds are still not there yet, but hopefully by the end of this 2 weeks, you guys will be able to start tracking this. And I see you guys. I know a lot of you are already in tears. I know a lot of you already have emotions. Listen, we have that effect on people. It's going to be a big 2 weeks. Buckle up. We got you. We can hold you. A lot of us don't realize that we created this extension of us. You literally in an astral body had a dream, a plan, and a mission, and you said, I have an extension of myself that I want to run on Earth because fill in the blank. Perhaps it was for self-serving interests, some kind of growth for you, or to monitor situations, or to look at what was going on. Some of you will have rallied and said, I'm going to send an extension to join up with this collective in this group to be a part of this movement. Some of you may be here on what we could call rescue missions for other starseeds from your group that have been caught in the Akashic Bardo cycle and have not been able to bring that extension back home. We have so many reasons for why each of us has designed the extension that you now know as the separate being of. So Caitlin, Violet, Karen, right? You have so many reasons for designing this body, but you've forgotten that you are your creator. You have forgotten that a version of you running in a parallel timeline to this had a dream for your existence and that you signed up for this. Now, what your original creator didn't know is that you might get stuck and that this body would take on a full life and a full cycle. And so you have created something that feels so familiar, yet so distant, that incongruency makes us feel almost abandoned and alone because we recognize ourselves, but it also feels so distant from self. Anybody this sounding familiar? Putting words to things you might not have been able to put words to. So what I need everybody to understand first is you are not a starseed stuck in a human body that needs to go home. This extension of you is home. You designed this part of you for this planet specifically, which means that the first thing we need to do is forgive the dreamer, the creator of us, that other parallel timeline of us, for ever creating this extension. Because until we can do that, we are missing something that needs to be hitting our field every moment of every single day. It's called the M field, or the morphogenetic field. That M field, you guys, is filled with all of these beautiful sequences of light, sacred geometry, sound, tones. It's like a harmonic that is constantly trying to wash and come into your body and help all of your cells replicate and move how they're supposed to move. That M field is there to help you guys draw upon the original dream and extension of why you were birthed into existence, but also all of the things that make you so unique as this human avatar running on this planet. But when we push ourselves away from it, when we shut ourselves down and we run something called death programming, which is everywhere we make ourselves separate, alone, we self-depreciate, we, ruin our self-confidence, all of those things. Every time we cloud our body with a little bit more of that denser vibration, it gets harder and harder to hear the songs of home. And so I'm also going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say Starseeds have been doing things ass backwards. Everybody wants to come in and they're like, where am I from and who am I? But that's not the right way to go. In fact, it'll take you longer in most instances. The fastest way to find home and bring those songs back into your body is to lighten this field to the point where it is absolutely inevitable that you are going to be washed in your own light code and sounds every single moment of every single day. And there is not an ounce of deniability because all channels are open and firing. Because really, what good does it do any of you if you can be like, I'm a Pleiadian, and you can't do shit with it, right? It's irrelevant. If you can't draw upon all of that perspective, the information, the healing gifts, the tones, the light language, what's the point? And so in the essay over the next couple of weeks, my job is to help lead you home, but not to another identity, because you are the identity you need to be, but to a wider version of who you thought you were so that you have access to more of your magic. That's my goal. That's what I do here on planet Earth. That is my mission and my purpose, is I help bridge Starseeds back into that harmonic M field. I do that in a couple of ways. We start it in these accelerators, and then we bridge it all the way through into a channeled quantum healing modality that got brought into me about 2.5 years ago. And I teach practitioners how to reactivate bodies to do the same. Okay, so that's where we're going over the next couple of weeks. So if that sounds good, stick with me. If you're like, holy shit, what did I sign up for? I don't even like Starseeds and aliens. Like, now's the time to get off the ship because we're taking off. Okay. All right. So I want you guys to close your eyes. We're going to go through a little bit of a forgiveness meditation journey. And we're going to get you to just bring forward a feeling. So go ahead, close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you are looking at yourself in a mirror. And at first, this version of you is going to look exactly like you, your human likeness. But I want you to notice as you take another deep breath and you start to shift and settle into your body, that this extension, this version of you, starts to drop all of the human body away. The skin starts to peel and pixel off. The hair falls away until all you're left with is light. And I want you to notice if it has a particular color or any shapes or tones to it. And perhaps if you are somebody who doesn't see, maybe you can potentially pay attention to how it feels and if there is a frequency to it or a feeling, an emotion. Just witness it for a moment. And if you were just to acknowledge that this aspect of you is your light body and the creator of you. And you are going to extend gratitude. What would it feel like? And if you were going to listen, not just with your ears, but with your whole body, your heart song, all of the feelings, the vibrations, everything we have access to, and you were going to allow the story of why you created yourself in this image to run on this planet, what would this light body have to share with you? It might be a word or a feeling. It might just be a sensation that comes over your body that you're going to download and be able to work with later. And I want you to notice how your body is now actually asking you to adjust. You may actually be able to crack your neck or to adjust your spine, follow its lead. And I want you to allow your body to let more of the light in. We're going to allow more of your soul to take a seat at the table. And if you were going to look at you in that mirror and forgive yourself, what would you need to say? My favorite way to do this is to say, I see you, which means I see that I am, in this case, so much more than this human avatar and this body and this mind have led me to believe. And I see the magnificence of who I am running in these parallel timelines. And I am beautiful. Then I accept you. And as you say, I accept you this time, I want you to notice how this light body version of you starts moving closer and closer towards your physical presence. And I want you to keep drawing it in like a magnet until it almost comes and lies right back down into your system, reintegrates, merges back into who you be. And then the last one is, and I forgive you for everything that has been wrong or hurtful, everywhere I have blamed you, which has meant myself, everywhere I have closed myself off from the magic and the entirety of who I be, I forgive myself and I let it go. And if you were to acknowledge that now your physical body is here on planet Earth and this is home, that you've designed this avatar to actually be here at this time as a part of this shift, what does your body require now in order to come back into this space and be ready to operate as a starseed here during this great awakening? Some of you may have another adjustment where your back needs to stretch. Do not ever be afraid to move while you guys are in these states. You won't lose it. Some of you guys may have an actual knowing. Carly is sharing that her body needs more water. My body often asks me for more outside time, more nature. And lately it's been asking me for even cleaner and clearer fuel for food. Good. And so I would love for you guys to just witness your body for a second. And how does it feel now compared to how it felt only 10 minutes ago? What do you notice about your system? Relaxed. Back pain went away. Yes. Less pain. Good. Lighter and cleaner. Lighter. Really good. More relaxed, present, aware, feet are grounded. You guys, healing isn't rocket science. Coming into who you are isn't either. It's constantly just remembering who you are and coming back into that field and allowing everything that's in your way from that to be cleared and cleaned out of your system on a regular basis. That's all it is. It's not even a miracle, right? It's not about us having to wait for somebody to bless us or waiting for another healer to come along. You are your healer. Now, don't get me wrong, coming together in circle and having somebody be the sacred witness and a facilitator for you to get back to that, hey, yo, I'm all for it. I've been witness to thousands of people in sessions now. But your job every single day is just to get a little lighter, a little cleaner, and let go of a little bit more of who you are not. And that is the fastest way of coming back into who you're actually here to be. So I have a question for you guys. What I would like to know is if you had one goal for these next 2 weeks, being in circle, being held with us, what would that one goal for yourself be? It could be something like letting go of a limiting belief. It could be a pain in your body moving. Bree was sharing, clearly channeling a new friend. That's fun. My body needs to quit smoking. Yes. To know why I'm here. Okay, my quantum energy body to help me with my healing work. Becoming the healer for myself. Yeah. Love it. Break free, clearly channel, be more connected. Unconditional love and compassion for myself. Releasing more of those loops. You guys, these are so good. To let go of a limiting belief. I love it. Okay, so while these are coming in, I want to tell you guys a little story about myself because many of you guys are new to my field and don't know a darn thing about me. And of course, we're all born this way, but I wasn't born this way. I haven't been on like this and able to channel my entire life. In fact, I was like many of you, where I felt like I had to fight for so many of the things that came easily to others. I wanted to have all of those senses turned on. I wanted to be able to see. I wanted to be able to hear with ease. I wanted everything to make sense. Wanted to be able to hear my spirit guides. But the truth is, I didn't start at the point I am now. I started at the very beginning where things felt a little bit like work sometimes. Let me know if anybody else feels like that. And I felt like a metaphysical healing tool hoarder. My credit card could definitely tell you that that was the truth of the situation at the time. I was just taking modality after modality, going to class after class, reading all the books, consuming all the YouTube, listening to anything I could get my hands on, just trying to do whatever it would take, whatever class it was going to be, whatever new tool it was going to be that would allow me to just turn on and tune up. But something really interesting happened throughout that journey. I didn't have a single teacher in those 6 years of hard learning where it was constant back to back and multiple things at a time ever look at me and tell me their modality wasn't actually the thing that was going to get me to actually turn on. Everybody said, well, yeah, learn Reiki. You start to learn to channel that through your hands, you're going to be on. Go and learn access bars. That's how you get more intuitive. Go learn quantum theory. Go learn the theta. Go learn past life hypnosis regression. This is how you'll get closer to who you are. None of the tools were the answer. The tools were just the game. And what I didn't realize, because at the time nobody was talking about this, was that the only thing that mattered was how I was taking those tools and using them to hear all of the things that were underneath the surface that I had just tried to push back so that I could move forward. And I didn't understand how much of all of the trauma I had walked through, the distrust in humanity, all of the pieces where I blamed others, was still the victim to my own life, had been, following me around like a ball and chain that I just couldn't get rid of. I didn't understand that this whole concept of just be love and light and, law of attraction, and just say all the right things in these affirmations meant that I actually had to clear all of the baggage under the surface, because everybody told me, don't focus on that because you'll get more of it. It's bullshit. Nobody told me that I had to take the time it takes to take less time. And so I took all of that and my own experience for doing it for myself, which took me about a solid 3 years once I started to figure this out, and put it all together to see that the only way through is through. And that emotions have power, and emotions have a reason, and our traumas and our stories and the things we've walked through, they are so valid for you because they are part of your teaching tools. They are part of your arsenal of what makes you you and why you're here. Doesn't mean we need to repeat them for the rest of our life, because Lord knows I don't want you guys going through 60 narcissistic relationships before you're like, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't do that again. We don't want that. We want to go through it once and be like, got the lesson. Next, now how can I support somebody else as they figure this out? I didn't realize that in order to be a better helper for everybody, my body had to be lighter. Does anybody feel like that in this circle, that part of your mission, you're probably here to be a helper in some regard, whether that's a teacher or a healer or something, a mentor, a coach? Like, I'm going to guess that is the majority of people that are here, not only joining us live on Zoom, but also in the Facebook group, that most of you guys have that drive that you want to be here to support others on their journey. I didn't realize that to be a better healer and teacher, a better messenger, somebody who was able to bring through these tones, like many of you guys have already felt today, that I had to do all of the work on myself to get cleaner and clearer, so that every person I met at the different levels of me in my experience would get what they required. I thought that if I just got that certificate or that modality, it would be enough. But the truth was, I was still in pain. Is anybody relating to this? Like, where you've gone and taken, a course or a certification and you're trying to do all the things, but underneath the surface, your life is still kind of chaotic and shit. You still got the emotions, you still got the baggage, you still got the problems, and it's not all fixed. Maybe you're not into the abundance. Maybe clients aren't flowing your way and you're like, what the H, man? I aligned to my mission. Here I am as the healer and helper. You called me up. Here I go. And yet the universe isn't conspiring and doesn't seem to have your back. Anybody? Yeah, everybody in the chat's like, What I didn't realize about being called into this work is the further you push yourself out to help others, the deeper you have to go in to unwind all of your stories. I didn't know at the time when I first started that masking and hiding all of the things I had gone through and not acknowledging them and not totally working through them and removing those emotions and getting to the point where I could release, forgive, and truly let go and stop repeating those old patterns I was doing, not only to myself, but in relationships and all the people around me, was the key to unlocking not only my own gifts, but also then being able to go on and activate all the people around me. Yeah, we should start a club called Wounded Healers Anonymous until you guys are no longer wounded, and then we need to change the name. I think one of the biggest disservices that the mainstream metaphysical community has done for us, you guys, over the past couple of decades, is it's forgotten to give us the tools on how to actually go in and do the work. And so my promise to you over the next 2 weeks is that if you show up to these classes, you watch the replays, you do the exercises, you are going to leave here a lighter, brighter, more connected version of yourself than you walked in. But it's going to take a little bit of work. I'm not going to lie to you about that. I don't think you can just meditate your way through this. It's going to take a little bit of work. And so if you're willing to do that, if you're in, let me know, because Violet and I are going to show up here for the next 2 weeks and take you through. I will give you everything I know in a very short amount of time that has activated thousands and thousands and thousands of starseeds now back into who they are. And you guys, the next thing we have to destroy and uncreate before we do this is the idea that healing takes time. So everywhere you have bought that story that it takes time to heal, to change, to shift, we got to destroy and uncreate all of it. Because if you let it, it can be flippin' fast.